CPS did a study at one point that said there were 700 million people in the world who, if they could get here, would be technically eligible for refugee status. We simply cannot take the numbers who would be entitled to come here if they were able to get here. So to stop them coming, it's the deterrent. It's really interesting because when Rwanda was about to happen, people didn't come to the UK, they went to the Republic of Ireland. So the numbers came down, even with the threat of it.
So there is no evidence for your remarks about the Rwanda scheme, which completely...
There is. You had people going to the Republic of Ireland.
You're drawing in a kind of causality that there's no grounded evidence in for the Rwanda scheme, which was a complete failure and an appalling waste of public money. And as for your remarks about what kind of systems and what kind of numbers might be welcomed into our scheme, that's also not backed up by any evidence. It's a Centre for Policy Studies report, not backed up by evidence. What we need is to be...
Jacob, just let me explain the report.
Jacob, it's really important that we all take our responsibility seriously in terms of talking about migration and asylum and seeking refuge in a responsible way. And putting out figures like that based on that report is not responsible.
What we have agreed to under the Refugee Convention and under the Human Rights Act and the Human Rights Convention, that means that there are hundreds of millions of people who are technically eligible for asylum in this country if they can get here. So once you start having safe and legal routes, you open it up to even larger numbers.
And that is not
what you have to do is to make it really difficult for people to get here and say very firmly that people who've already got to a first safe country cannot come to the United Kingdom. And if they do, they will be removed. And as I say, Donald Trump has made this work in the United States and has got the number of illegal migrants down.
Well, I think that is an appalling misrepresentation of what the European Convention on Human Rights is. And I think we should all be taking our responsibilities more seriously to ensure that we have a reliable and sustainable immigration and asylum system that is safe and so that people are not forced into dangerous channel crossings.
So how many would you take each year?
That is not a sensible question.
It is, it's essential.
It is not. That is just simply not how...
I want zero illegal migrants.
You do not speak for the British people.
No, that's what they show in polling.
We are a decent and compassionate country.
We don't want hundreds of thousands of people coming in.
We are a decent, compassionate and tolerant country that thrives, that thrives on those values.
So Labour policy is hundreds of thousands more people coming in.
That is absolutely not...
That's basically what you're saying.
And what is really striking about this conversation is we have come here this evening to talk about a perfectly sensible arrangement that the British government, that hasn't worked, that the Conservatives introduced, but this government is perfectly reasonably seeking to renew an agreement. And what's happened in the space of about 9 minutes is that we have descended into bandying about figures that are not remotely grounded in evidence.
Give some figures that you
no,
think
because
are better.
that is not
you won't
that
give
is
any
not
figures.
The way. No, I'm not going to start making up figures in the way that you have.
In
the way that you have about what is possible.
It's my turn now.
We've got figures. We've got